This is the installation video for the rider foot peg lowering brackets available from Advanced Sport Touring. We're going to go ahead and start on the clutch side of the bike. First thing you're going to want to do is remove two bolts, the one here and the one here holding the foot peg bracket onto the bike, as well as this one which is holding our clutch assembly. And when you take this off, there's a washer on the other side. Try not to lose that one. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the other bolts. Then go ahead and set it aside. These bolts come with a sleeve on them. Most of the time these don't come off very easily, but we do need to reuse them. I found the easiest way to get the shoulder off is to use a 13mm socket, place it on top, put the bolt against a hard surface, and then hit the top of the socket with a hammer or a heavy instrument, and then they will come apart. Now we're going to go ahead and put on the bracket that comes with the kit, and we're going to assemble it with this countersunk hole facing towards you. To install your bracket, you're going to need the 20mm button head and the 20mm socket head. The button head bolt is going to go into the countersunk hole. And then your other bolt is going to go into the other one. And then we're going to go ahead and put our foot peg assembly onto this bracket. And then your lock nuts go on the other side. I'm going to use my wrench and my hex key. I'm going to tighten these up. And now we're going to go ahead and adjust our clutch lever so that it works with the newly lowered position. As set from Kawasaki, the shifter was nearly even with the top of the foot peg, but because we lowered our foot pegs, it's now higher. So we're going to need to go ahead and adjust that. To do that, we're going to add length on both sides of the shifter stem. And you'll notice that there's a nut on either side. We're going to start with this side over here. And what you're going to want to use is, if you're lucky enough to have two 10mm wrenches, that'll be the easiest way to do it. You're going to have one on the nut and then one on the stem, and you can go ahead and loosen it. But if you don't have two 10mm wrenches, you can always use an adjustable wrench. So what we're going to do on this one, this turns opposite of normally So it's not going to be righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You're just going to want to go ahead and turn it away from the stem, and then we're going to turn the stem clockwise so that it adds length. And then go ahead and tighten the nut back up. And the amount you adjust this is personal preference. Most people will just put it back to the stock length. Now we're going to go ahead and adjust the bottom one. And then this one's going to turn counterclockwise. And you can see that by doing this, we've made this once again in the same plane as the foot peg. Before we go ahead and tighten this nut, we're going to put this back onto the bracket. So take your bolt with the washer, slide it through, take your other washer, put it on the other end, and then tighten up the nut. And the clutch side is done. Let's go ahead and start the installation on our brake side of the bike. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and remove the muffler heat shield, which has two bolts, one here and one here. And then set it off to the side. And now we're going to go ahead and remove these two bolts that are holding the foot peg bracket onto the bike. Just behind the foot peg bracket, you'll notice a thick plastic tube. Go ahead and follow it up to this holder and just pull it out. That'll give us a little slack. Now we're going to go ahead and attach our bracket. We're going to want to go ahead and use our button head, which has the rounded head. That goes in the counterboard hole. We're going to use our socket head, then the top one. If you're going to lower your foot pegs on this side, there is a modification you have to make. It's a very small one. And if you follow the brake lever to the very back, it's just easier to show you in the picture here, you'll see that it comes to a point. What we want to do is make it so that it's flush. And that way, it won't hit the muffler. And the best way I've found to do that is if you have a Dremel with a cutoff disc, that'll make it very easy. Or you can use a file, just a regular metal file. It'll take you a little longer, but you can do it that way. And after you do that, go ahead and gently pull down until your bolt holes line up, and then put in the bolts indicated on the sheet. And you can stop here, but if you do want to reuse the heat shield, this would require a modification. The best way to do that is to send it to me. Just put it in a box. I have the address written in the instructions. Mail it to me. I'll go ahead and make the modification for you free of charge and then send it back to you. But if you want to do it yourself, I do include the template so that you can make the cut yourself. And basically what it ends up is looking like this. You tape it on there. You cut out this black section, and using a permanent marker, go ahead and mark that black section on the metal. And after you cut it out, you'll have a hole like this. And that'll allow the bottom section to fit right inside. And that concludes our installation.